G'day guys, SmileyFaceX here, commentating over some of my games from a deck that I was playing on day one of the Murder at Castle Nathria expansion. So the first version of this deck didn't go too great. It was a Renathal version and went 0-3. I made a couple of small adjustments, shrunk it down, and actually got it working really good. So this is the fourth game I've played with this version of the deck. Obviously my hands are very heavy with Relics. I get an early Sire Denathrius. So a couple of the win conditions with this deck. You've got the token package, so you just swarm a lot. You get your giant super cheap, and you just kind of overwhelm the enemy. Xylag also helps with that, with a little bit of burst. And the hero Kurtrus can let you cycle his hero power a lot of times if they ever leave a board state up. The other win condition is the Relics, if they build up big enough, which is what it's kind of looking like this game. As you can see, I've got plenty in hand. And then the third win condition, it kind of feeds into the token a little bit, but the Sire Denathrius one shot at the end of the game. So we'll see which one this deck leans into. Obviously there's quite a few new cards in this deck. The Relic package is new. Sinful Brand is probably one that's gone under the radar a little bit. It's the select a minion, every time it takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Unfortunately it doesn't work on the killing blow of the minion. I don't know why, it's still taking damage. I'm assuming that's just a bug. I think having 2 of them in the deck's a mistake. A lot of the times it was just dead in hand. But one of them's super good, especially in the Druid matchup when they drop that just big taunt in your face. You get a lot of value out of that. Another issue with this version of the deck is that Coordinated Strike and Feast of Souls are heavily reliant on each other. Sinful Brand to that degree a little bit as well. So sometimes your hand can be a bit clunky with them. I do have a new version of this deck, but I thought I'd show you some games with this version to just show off the deck. So we're really getting our Relics going now. Look at them go. We still have Sire Denathrius up our sleeves. Sorry I haven't commentated on this specific game too much. As you can see, it is going pretty well though. We're just running those Relics into the ground. Here I show off a little bit, but I still have 2 massive giants. I've got all the damage in the world. I still had so much power in that deck. Plus Denathrius coming up in 2 turns, Xylag in hand. Kind of shows the firepower that this deck's kind of packing. Now the mage decks are the hardest matchup and the most common I've found on day one anyway. About 28% of the time I was coming up against the frosty type mage. The reason it's so tough is because they just have so many board clears, and their 2/2s also help with clearing to a certain extent. But they got the Fire Sale, they've got the Reckless Apprentice, they've got the Deathborn thing, the 6 mana deal 2, along with more Dresh for the huge clear. So it's just a very tricky deck to play. You kind of have to tempo it out, get a lot of damage into him, and just hope that you don't set up really good clears. I know it's easier said than done, but so we just used our Relic Vault there with our draw relic of Dimensions. That's such a good combo and really sets you up for some big combos later in the game. Here I drop the Trog just because it might eat a shot, and if it doesn't eat a shot, then maybe it forces him to ping before he does anything. It'll eat a resource, which it does. Gets his cold case, which is all good. My Relic deals with that pretty nicely. Then I don't have the space in my hand to actually use another Relic of Dimension, so I drop my hand a little bit. This is one of those turns where it's always scary against a mage. They just clear this shit so easily. And it doesn't matter if you drop like slightly higher health dudes. They tend to always just be able to get through it. As shown. But I'm lucky this game, I guess, because he hasn't tempoed out that hard. And I've started with Side Denathrius. So all these board clears that he's doing, I'm actually getting quite a bit of value out of them. Because my Denathrius is just getting insane. Here I think I misplayed. I probably should have played the other Coordinated Strike. And then dropped my big guy. I think that's a much stronger board. I kind of done the in-between on this turn. And it was definitely a trash turn. He plays another couple of minions, nothing too scary. His hero power is starting to get pretty ridiculous, but I'm at a healthy total. Like he can't wipe me off the board just yet. That Relic's pretty nice, and then you get some huge discounts on some dudes. Xylag's obviously a free board, and another couple of 7/7s. It just shows how fast and effective you can reload with this deck once you get going. Some of the early turns normally aren't too bad as well, especially against the aggressive decks. You're normally just fighting. There's a fair bit of back and forth, but if you get the upper hand, you can normally start cycling the Relics and get it done. Then the huge Denathrius play. Now I know the record might not look like much in the top corner there, but this deck is so much fun to play. You have to give it a go. You can see my reaction after I won that game there. Okay, we're on to game 3 here. We're versing a Druid, and it is by far the best matchup for this deck. They struggle to keep up with you early as you go wide. They don't really have an answer for it until turn about 7. Oh, did I say that already? Turn 7 when they get their Scales of Onyxia. And you can play around that as long as you know it's coming, and then make sure you got a reload in hand. And then once they drop their big taunt, you have that Sinful Brand, as I was talking about before, to really punish them and just run all your tokens in. So we've got Denathrius in hand as well, which is always super nice versus any deck, really. It's one of your better cards. I'm about 50-50 whether you should keep it in the mulligan or not. Some matchups you just can't get there, so you need to toss it. But any matchup where you think you can get to turn 10, I'd say you want to keep it. Sometimes you end up with a hand like what I have at the moment, which is just chunky. But it means once you get to the end game, you have turn after turn of just huge boards, and effective boards at that. So he's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with me at the moment. But like I was saying, it's a bit of a weak turn. So even with back-to-back weak turns, we're about to start hitting our power. And this is what I mean. This is something where the deck struggles a little bit in this mid-game, like turns 4, 5, 6, I would say, are the weakest turns. But Druid can't punish that. They always just ramp or do plays that aren't super effective. So we drop the Xylag. If he scales here, I'm not too worried at all because we do have the Artificer and our Giant is online. So we get a quick refill either way. Artificer is also going to draw us 2 cards. You can't forget about that are discounted. So we left some things up. I got some options. I'm trying to decide if I leave Brand up, do I just hit it? All the little dudes have to go face. That's obvious enough. I guess I just wanted to see how the Relic played out. But the Relic ended up shooting first and not killing anything, so it was a bit of a buzzkill. So I feel like I've got this game pretty well wrapped up. But he surprises me with an early Denathrius himself. Gets all the way back to 40 and has a 10/10 life still on board. So, like I was saying, this deck has a shit ton of fuel. So, you're about to see here just how much if I can come back from this situation. Obviously, you can come back from a lot more. Yeah, so the Trog's super good into the matchup. Obviously, they play a lot of spells. So it always normally tends to go off, as you can see right here. And then once they start dropping these taunts, the Sinful Brand comes into play. And you can just trade them all off, because you know they're just going to play more spells and you can get your hero power going. This is where the deck's really just coming together. Draw a shit ton of cards. You have so many options. Don't forget, I've also still got a massive side Denathrius up my sleeve as well. So it shows even once they get like a full board clear, 10/10 life still, 40 health, you still have plenty of juice in the bank. But yeah, that's my little showcase of this deck. I'm going to do another follow-up video on this, maybe a couple of them, because I did play 30 games and the deck's honestly so much fun. There's some wild games I can't wait to show you. But I guess I'll just have to save that till next time. I'll catch you all on the next video. Thanks guys. Bye.